Chair Simon, will you please convene the Committee on Collective Bargaining?
Thank you, Chair Day. Will the Committee on Collective Bargaining please come to order? I believe we've come to order. There are 8 individuals who have been patiently waiting to speak on public comment. And for those of you who have signed up to address us, the board, I'm going to call your names. And if you're not here, somebody will extend the message of my apologies, but I'm going to call those names. You have a minute to address the board. And again, if I mispronounce your name, please correct it for the record. And before I call your names, I actually not only want to thank you all for waiting today. Our agenda, we are moving through it, but the brothers and sisters from our labor family, you voice the needs and concerns we recognize of thousands of folks who every single day are getting up to serve the CSU. So I just want to thank you for coming out. And I'll call your names: Charles Toombs, Kevin Ware, Tessie Reese, Rocky Sanchez, Tony Spargins, Martin Brenner, Drew Scott, and Cal Mason. Charles, or I should say President Toombs.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Charles Toombs, Professor of Africana Studies at San Diego State and President of the California Faculty Association. CFA's Board of Directors has adopted a set of initial bargaining proposals for a successor Unit 3 contract and formally presents them today to you, the CSU Board of Trustees. In preparing our proposals, we consulted widely with our members. We conducted an extensive survey and collected input at open meetings with members at all 23 of the CSU campuses. Faculty are concerned about the state of public higher education, about fair access for students of California, and about equity and racial and social justice issues within the CSU. It is my hope that contract negotiations this time around with the new team for management are not only conducted in a professional and courteous manner, but will be predicated on problem-solving openness and a willingness on the part of management to take seriously the needs of faculty as we work every day to serve our students. And Kevin Weir will continue.
Thank you, President Combs. We appreciate you. Kevin Weir.
Good afternoon. We propose a successor agreement that proposes to improve compensation and ensures fairness and equity. Furthermore, CFA seeks to bargain over terms that provide dignity to the educational professions of faculty in the CSU. In these negotiations, we intend to bargain to improve salaries and ameliorate salary equity problems, to provide stability in appointments and assignments, and to define workload based on pedagogically appropriate class sizes, professionally recognized counselor-to-student ratios, and contemporary librarian responsibilities and coaching duties. We seek to increase provisions and improvements for faculty and students of color, women, people with disabilities, and LGBTQI+ individuals in accordance with CFA's anti-racism and social justice mission. We also seek to enhance support for academic freedom, to ensure faculty's intellectual property, and to provide campus safety, particularly for marginalized faculty, students, and staff, and for increased environmental health and safety. We will seek to develop evaluation processes that are fair, appropriate, and that acknowledge and address biases and over-reliance on student opinions, and revise the grievance process to provide for more efficiency and execution of due process. Finally, we will also seek to improve paid and unpaid leaves, including but not limited to sabbaticals, family leave, as well as parental and family support for all faculty. CFA's mission is to strengthen the cause of higher education for the public good. In this, CFA continues to advocate for and promote racial and social justice, and thereby challenge systems of racial oppression and social inequality. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Ware. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly? Okay, great, fantastic. Our next speaker is Tessie Reese, and thank you all for staying as close to that 1 minute as possible. My mom would be very angry at me if I cut off of a teacher, so I want to make sure that we get everybody speaking. Tessie Reese.
Good afternoon. I'm Tessie Reese from San Diego State and in support of Unit 2 your athletic trainers, your nurse practitioner, your pharmacists, and all the health support professionals that we represent. As I only have a minute, you can look at your agenda and you can see the proposals and our items that we're going to open on your side as well as our side to discuss during our bargaining. The one focus I want to bring out again is fair, equitable wages and salaries. Your people deserve, after 25 years, the restoration of steps. It's longstanding, it's long due, it's overdue, and there needs a commitment on your end and on your side and the folks that you send to meet with us to discuss this. Our folks will not accept anything less than that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Reese. Our next speaker is Rocky Sanchez.
Good afternoon, Chancellor White, trustees, campus presidents, brothers and sisters. This is Rocky Sanchez, VP for Representation for CSUEU. As mentioned before, you do have our proposals or our sunshine proposals for our bargaining contract. There's three things that I want to bring up. First, we expect your side, just as your side expects our side, to bargain in good faith. What Tessie said in regards to steps, we have watched over the years as your side has twisted whatever we had to say. Our members, your staff, the people that make the campuses look great, get students through their programs, deserve that. Second, we expect to be treated respectfully, not like the last time that we bargained this current contract, in which we were totally discarded. We were treated disrespectfully, and we won't stand for it. And third, we should not be required to fix the inversion problem that you all created by broadbanding. So just give you a heads up in regards to our stance on that.
Thank you, VP Sanchez. Thank you for your voice. Our next, I'll just call the next four speakers: Tony Spraggins, Martin Brenner, Drew Scott, and our last speaker will be Cal Mason. Tony.
Praise the Lord, everybody. My name is Tony Spraggins. I'm the BU7 chair for CSUEU. We often tell our kids to stop, don't do that. You don't need that. Most of the time they stop, and a short time later, they resume their ways. We find ourselves saying, didn't I tell you to stop, or stop that, or you can't have that? The reason why they seem not to hear or understand is why we didn't clearly explain the reason behind our answer. What we failed to do is to tell them the why they can't have or why they don't need. It's the same challenge you have with the CSUEU. You keep saying no when we request a salary increase, steps, or things needed to do a better job. What you have failed to do is to explain the why in your no. When we ask, you say, we don't have the money. Well, we found out that's not true. The truth is you don't know why. Most of you weren't even around when they took steps away. You just seem to be going with the flow. So now here's your chance to make a difference. Here's your chance as trustees. Let's think about that word for a second. Trustees, which begins with the word trust and ends with you, depending on how you look at it. So again, the question is, can we trust you to do your job and distribute fairly what was put in trust for you to do? I pray each one of you make yourselves a committee of one and decide in favor of a change. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Spraggins.
Chair.
Oh, I will make sure next time I get it right. Congratulations. Our next speaker is Martin Brenner. I believe you're the Vice Chair.
Yes,
Correct? Okay, I'll get it right, sir.
but
Welcome.
my unit is parallel to Tony's.
Okay.
So I'm Martin Brenner, and I am a lowly vice chair, not a full chair of CSUEU Unit 9.
Welcome.
So we have a problem. Actually, we all in this room have a problem in the CSU, and that is a lack of commitment to employees, which will lead to a lack of morale and degrade the professionalism of your staff. It has manifested itself in an increased utilization of contracting out and temporary status employees. Unit 9 does not include custodians, but in my brief time here, let me share with you the difference between a janitor and a custodian. A janitor is an hourly employee with a tenuous, often sub-minimum living wage who cleans stuff you assign them to. A custodian is a person who is an appropriately employed individual who has job security, a living wage, and consequently acts as a steward, a custodian of the facilities they are assigned to. As a senior technology staff member and a part-time lecturer, I have had the pleasure of working in CSU facilities stewarded by many fine custodians. I fear the day that I will have to work in facilities cleaned by janitors, as well as being at the mercy of other contracted service providers rather than committed employees. This also includes critical services that your campuses are contracting out, including but not limited to the most sensitive services like identity management and IT access.
I want to make sure you summarize. You're almost
So
out of time. You're out of
that's
time.
all. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. The last two speakers, Drew Scott and Cal Mason from Teamsters Local 2010.
Good afternoon. My name is Drew Scott. I work at Fresno State. I'm a facility control specialist, been there for 12 years. Got involved with the union. We became Teamsters recently. I just got elected to a trustee position on the 2010 Teamsters Executive Board.
Congratulations.
And I'm here to talk to you about what we got going on with bargaining. I'm here in solidarity with our union brothers and sisters in CSUEU and CFA. Teamsters Local 2010 stands together with our fellow CSU unions in fighting for fair pay and benefits at the CSU. To start, I wanted to thank Lieutenant Governor Kanalakis for joining Governor Newsom in calling upon the CSU to address stagnant wages and the lack of annual salary steps. After more than 20 years without steps, our Unit 6 skilled trades members with decades of service to the CSU often find themselves trapped at the bottom of a salary range with no end in sight. This is not acceptable or sustainable. Our members are endlessly frustrated by being presented with a salary range upon hire with the presumption we can advance through it, only to find out that it's not really the case.
You can please summarize. No. Were you finished with your sentence, sir?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Cal Mason?
Hi there. My name is Cal Mason, and I've worked at San Diego State University for 24 years as an electrician. I'm a member of the Teamsters Local 2010 Unit 6 Skilled Trades Bargaining Team. And thank you, Brother Drew. This frustration is compounded when we see the CSU paying higher wages to new hires than existing staff because of its current because of its current pay. It is not competitive with market value. This is not the way to hire and retain workers to do critical work, keeping campuses safe and operational when there are already staffing issues and a growing backlog of deferred maintenance projects. To address these issues, we ask the other CSU trustees to join in with the governor and lieutenant governor in calling on the CSU to recognize the dedication and hard work of its employees with fair pay and restoration of salary steps. In addition, we believe this would allow us to get back to our sole purpose, which is to serve and support the students, faculty, and staff of our California State University system. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mason. And again, for all the folks who came out today, representing tens of thousands of folks who are shepherding our beautiful system, I thank you. We thank you so much for that voice. And again, thank you for waiting to speak. I know we were supposed to be on a little bit earlier, but we're trying. Thank you so much. So now it is time for the committee to consider today's consent agenda. Does any committee member wish to remove any item for separate discussion? Well, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda? Is there a second? Well, I need a motion first. I apologize. Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? Any opposed? Any abstentions? The items listed on the consent agenda are approved. Do we need to vote? Seems like there's consensus. Chair Day, this concludes the business of the Committee on Collective Bargaining. Thank you so much.